Hey guys, it's time for a little quickie bulb review. I have in my hands here a JIAWEN Zigbee compatible RGB light bulb. I picked this up from GearBest, and here is the paperwork for it. So this is how this particular bulb is listed. Zigbee bulb, smart bulb, wireless bulb app control, work with Zigbee hub, Snow White. So it was on sale on October 2nd for just under $17 US. But this particular one, which now says discontinued, is $22.14. I picked this up for testing with the Hue hub. Hopefully it actually works, and I thought maybe it'd be an inexpensive replacement for the Hue bulbs. And if it doesn't pair properly with the Hue hub, I do also have a Samsung Smart Hub, or Smart Things hub, that maybe this will work with. Now looking around GearBest, I see they have a new model here, the RGBW. It's now $30, at least when it's not on sale, but it specifically calls out that it's Philips Hue compatible, while this other one didn't say that. You can get a color temperature adjustable one, which is probably what the CT is here if the checkbox were here, but I was showing the price here for the RGBW one, and RGBW means it's red, green, blue, and it has white LEDs as well, so hopefully it can produce a relatively warm white color. We'll see. I haven't even tried it yet. If you use the Philips Hue system, you know that their color changing bulbs have been about $50 US since they were introduced. Occasionally they go on sale for around $45, but they're almost always $50 each. So I figured if this would work, this would be a nice cheap way to get into the color changing bulbs. Interesting is the production name is K2 Wireless, and the voltage is 100 through 240 volts, and that's better than the Philips bulbs, which are only going to work on 120 volts, at least the ones they sell in the US. The lumens are rated at 750, which is less than the Philips color changing bulbs. I think the current ones are maybe rated around 800 or a bit over 800, and this claims 9 watts. The back of the box just sort of calls out the Zigbee again and the JNW Lighting Limited out of Hong Kong company. Smart bulb. Alright, well, let's take a look inside here. Okay, so interesting is it uses a glass diffuser, the JIAWEN brand name. Do not use in dimmer, of course. This is a smart bulb, so you would never do that. Use an open fixture, Zigbee LightLink. So the Zigbee LightLink, pretty sure that's what the Philips Hue bulbs use. And it talks about that in Chinese. And here again it calls out the 750 lumens and the 9 watts. Alright, let's compare this to some Philips Hue color changing bulbs. On the left here is a generation 1 bulb. It kind of has a silver base. It does call it out as 600 lumens here, so I forgot that these ones were actually a little bit dimmer. This one is one of the new Gen 3 bulbs, and if we scroll over to the side here, this actually is called out as 800 lumens, so that's cool. But as you can see, the voltage is 110 to 130, so like I said, these are not multi-voltage compatible. Size-wise, there is quite a sizable difference between these. So that's not great if you need a small light bulb that's going to fit into a smaller fixture. These are typical A19 size, which is kind of a common size, around the similar size of the incandescent bulbs of the old days. Clearly this new one is quite a bit bigger, but personally I don't really care about that. Okay, inside the box was a little bit of instructions here on how to add this to the Philips Hue bulb. Basically put the hub and the bulb near each other, give electricity to the bulb, and then you start the automatic search on the Philips Hue. So I did that on my setup and it says extended color bulb 1, so if I pick that, there we go. Now this is flashing here, so that means that it's actually working. I assume that's already paired, so the blinking is happening on here. And I can name this, so we'll call it the test bulb. Check. Okay. So one thing I noticed right away when I plugged this in is, the light quality is very cool. And from my initial impressions, it just doesn't seem super bright. Also, there is some amount of pulsing going on. It doesn't seem to be the usual 60 hertz here. You can see it's sort of beating with the 60 frames per second on my camera, but it doesn't really appear to be particularly flickery. So the bulb appears to be Philips Hue compatible. Here it is being controlled by my app, and I'm adjusting the color temperature, and it definitely is adjusting. And I gotta say, on the warmest setting, which on an actual Philips bulb is this really gross kind of yellowy color, it's actually producing a pretty nice warm white color now, and it actually seems to be a little bit brighter as well. So I'm actually wondering if perhaps there's a couple different color temperatures of LED chips in there, and maybe it adds some red, or I don't know what it's doing, but it seems to be a little bit brighter when it's on the warmer color, and that's personally the color I prefer. All the way on the coolest color, It's actually a relatively nice cool color as well, and it's decently bright. Yeah, so there's that. Let's give it some, ooh, wow, okay. So one complaint about the actual Philips bulbs is that they are not particularly vibrant, the colors they produce. And I gotta say, this is clearly just a pure RGB chips in there along with the white. And wow, yeah, these are full on maximum vibrancy, just like, you know, if you have an LED light strip. So what I mean by that is the greens are very, very green. The reds are completely red. Yeah, like a deep, deep red. The blue is a typical color that the regular Philips Hue has a hard time producing, and you kind of get this sort of cyan color out of it. The Gen 3 bulbs are actually a lot better with that. You get a better blue, but the original bulbs, man, they could not produce a blue properly. But this produces a very, very deep blue color. Orange looks really, really nice. Let's see about the yellow. The yellow... Yeah, I don't know. Yellow's not too bad. And then, yeah, the green is very good as well. This can produce a nice, vibrant kind of green color. Okay, so what's very interesting, actually, so when you go from, say, I'm going to go to the blue here. It's quite blue, but when I move over, oh, sorry about that, edge display. When you move over to the white, it actually like shuts off the blue LEDs and then turns on the white LEDs. And that transition is a little weird, I guess. I don't know how else to say it. Like, you'll be able to see it maybe on the camera when I move to white. It kind of like dims away the blue and then brings on the white. That's a bit strange. Let's see how good the pastels are. Yeah, so this bulb has issues with the pastel type colors. And that's where the Hue bulbs really excel. Hue doesn't use a white LED at all. It actually uses RGB LEDs, but they're adjusted so that they can combine, produce a nice full spectrum of white. And that's why some of the pure colors are a bit off with those bulbs, because they're really geared towards the whites and the pastels. Well, this bulb is just using standard RGB LEDs, most likely, and then adds the white in as necessary. It means that, yeah, the in-betweens are just a little strange. It's like a very abrupt change. So here's like a cyan. If I just move it a little bit more towards the middle, nothing, nothing. And there, like suddenly the white LEDs come on. And obviously their minimum brightness is such that it has a huge effect and kind of turns everything kind of a very pastel color. Okay, so there's a warm white color. And if I turn this down, yeah, some of the color transitions, the brightness transitions are a little weird. But let's go all the way to the minimum. Okay, so the minimum is actually okay, but the Philips Gen 3 bulbs, for instance, have a huge range of adjustability. They can get to a very dim, they get very dim on all the colors and the whites, like really, really dim. The original bulbs, not so much. These didn't have great dimmability. But this, on the other hand, yeah, this is, you know, not bad. I have a kilowatt connected, and currently at maximum brightness, this bulb's only drawing 5 watts. If I turn this all the way down, if I turn the brightness down to minimum, we're now at 3 watts. Okay, it actually dropped to 0, so let's shut this off altogether. Now you won't be able to see, but it's currently set to 0 as well. Now one interesting thing is when I shut this off, I'm using the app here, and I turn this off. Now you won't be able to hear on camera, but there's sort of a slight high-pitched whine from this while it's off. And as soon as I turn it on, yeah, that goes away. So that's a little bit lame. But let's put this back to full brightness and just see how much power is used on the various color modes. Sure, so here we are on the maximum red, and we've gone to 1 watt. And a very green color is 1 watt as well. Maximum blue, we have 1 watt. Probably if we do something in the middle, like a purple. Yeah, we're getting 2 watts right now, 3 watts. So power usage-wise, this thing is relatively low power, but I think you're paying for that in the fact that it's just not particularly bright. All right, so on the Gen 3 Philips bulb, we're at full brightness and all the way on the cool side of things, and we're at 6 watts, and I have to say it's a lot brighter. Like, just looking at the bulb with the naked eye is a lot harder. Overall, these are fantastic, but then, yes, the best thing about them, when you put them in a minimum dimness, they are so dim, especially on the color settings at night. It's fantastic. Alright, so here I'm going to test brightness. This lamp just has a regular Philips white bulb in it. It's a Philips branded one. It's not one of the new cheap plastic ones, one of the older kind of ones with a glass diffuser. So it was pretty expensive, I think 25 bucks at the time. But all it can do is produce white. But one of the nice things about it is a very nice flicker-free light quality. And it's a good warm color, and it does have the ability to get quite dim. Now, the camera's on, has a adjustable exposure, so really you're not going to be able to tell much about it. You know, you won't be able to see, but I'll just use some subjective eyesight vision here to see if this new color bulb is actually bright enough to use in a room as a primary light source, or this is just better as an accent light. So I've switched this out with the color bulb, and I gotta say, when you first turn it on, it really produces this really horrible kind of greenish white that's super displeasing. I don't know why that's the default color that this bulb kind of goes to, but it's just gross. But the weird thing is if you go into the app and then you switch to the white mode, it changes immediately, even though it's sort of in the center of the color spectrum here for the whites. It changes to a relatively pleasing warm white color. And I gotta say that moving this around up and down here doesn't have a very dramatic effect. Really cool color, and here we have a warm color. But if we just go to the middle and the top basically barely seem different at all. I mean, if there's any difference, it's very, very slight. So I gotta say that from a color, a white balance, adjustability perspective, this bulb is not particularly good. Now, moving to the warm side of things, the white color that it's producing, it's actually pretty nice. I'm pleased with that. And if we switch to the color spectrum, you know, it's not bad. Like I said, you get really vibrant colors out of this bulb. Now, from a brightness perspective, is this bulb bright enough to use as a primary light source? Well, I'd say it is, but it's a much closer to maybe 600 lumens than the claimed 750 lumens on the box. Alright, so what do I think about the JIAWEN Zigbee LightLink color changing bulb? Well, I like it. It has certain faults. It's not really bright enough. I'd say it's more around the 600 lumen side of things. Probably similar brightness to a Philips Gen 1. If you have a Philips Hue Gen 1 bulb and you're happy with the light output, then this probably falls within the same category. The other issues are it is bigger physically, so if you have a small compact light, you might risk the bulb sticking out the top, or it may not fit all together. I'd say from a flicker perspective, it's pretty fantastic. It doesn't seem to be any worse than the original Gen 1 Philips bulbs, and those are pretty good. They're not perfect. You can sometimes see a little bit of flicker out the corner of your eye, but one thing is I do notice a little bit of sound coming out of this bulb. So like I said, when it's turned off and I had it on the desk here, I could hear a little bit of like a high-pitched sound from it. And in the lamp fixture I was just showing you, that cone lampshade seems to kind of amplify any bulb noise. And at some of the settings on here, there was a little bit of a high-pitched kind of hum as well out of it. It's very minor, and you know, you probably would never notice it unless you're in a really quiet room. The Philips bulbs are really good quality and they don't tend to do that, but I've had other Zigbee bulbs like GE's that do make a little bit of noise, so your mileage will vary on that one. And I like the fact that even though it's only as bright as those Gen 1 Philips bulbs, it has a lot more color gamut capabilities, so you get a lot of deep colors out of this. The dimmability is not so great. It could be better, but there you go. It has some trouble in the pastel color spectrum because of the dimmability. I think it just can't drive those white LEDs at low brightnesses to give you a nice kind of slightly pastel color. The fact that this is resettable and it works right off the bat on my Philips Hue with no issues at all, yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'm gonna actually use this for a while and I will report back in the comments if there's any further issues, like if this loses a connection to the hub or any other strange behaviors. If that one that's listed now for $30 is exactly the same as this, is $30 worth it? Yeah, I'd say that it's not too bad. I mean, it's a lot cheaper than $50. You're still talking you could get almost two of these for the price of one Philips. But a Gen 3 Philips is a lot better than this bulb. It just is so much brighter and doesn't quite have the gamut, but you get a much brighter bulb. You get a lot more colors out of it because you can, you know, mix those colors a bit better than you can with this. So overall, yeah, that's a better bulb, but this is still cheap. And if you're just looking for things to fill in, accent, and produce some really cool colors, then you kind of can't go wrong with this. I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna give this kind of a sideways to medium thumbs up. Not perfect, but it's one of the first clone bulbs I've tested, and yeah, I like it. So anyways, I hope you found this interesting, and if you did, appreciate a thumbs up, and put some comments down below and let me know if you've tried these out or if you've seen any other Hue compatible bulbs out there, because I'd love to know about them. But yeah, you can subscribe to more videos, and thanks for watching. Bye.